Hello and welcome to another audio analysis. In today's video we take a look at the track Might Love Myself by the American hard rock band Beartooth. This is the third single to be released from their upcoming 5th studio album titled The Surface, which does land on October 13th. This album is certainly going to show a change in perspective though. Beartooth has always been a vessel for frontman Caleb Shaw to really air his battles with mental health, with depression, and we've really seen that reflected very heavily through the lyrics, and we can see that through the titles of the previous albums. Below, Disease, Aggressive, really negative, very aggressive, very dark as well, even in the sound that they've been producing, also actually in the visual styles that they've shown, almost very demonic with previous music videos as well. With the previous two singles, Riptide and Sunshine, we started to see this change in perspective, and many of the other titles on the actual album are going to show the same thing. Look the Other Way, What Are You Waiting For, My New Reality, really showing this upswing, and even the title of the album, The Surface, he's finally breaking through, coming back from the below, from being buried underground, and really heading towards the light almost, back towards a neutral state. So we can really see that although he's making this change, we're not actually seeing him go full from negative to positive. We're going to see it as a bit of a trend upwards, and certainly see it as his journey as we continue to follow along with it. So will this track be full of love or simply full of hate? Let's take a look at exactly how it sounds.
Think I might love myself. Was overrated, and I don't know how to take it. Still chasing ghosts, I feel so unsure. And I sold myself a lie, still gave it one more try. Gave everything that I had and more. Couldn't happen to me, couldn't happen to me, couldn't happen to me. Then it took my body over, lost all my composure. Never felt quite like this before. Chemistry is changing, emotions rearranging. I'm out of my cage, breaking my spell. Think I might love myself.
It's so great to see Caleb actually smiling in a music video. It's something we haven't seen for such a long time, and this is definitely going to be a song that I think initially is going to divide fans. Certainly people that have kind of listened to Below and don't know the full story about his battles with mental health are going to be like, this isn't the same band I signed up for with the previous album. Certainly showing much lighter tones, seeing the blending of pop and electronic sounds into this track just laid in the back. Despite keeping some of those kind of more chugging guitars, they're not quite as heavy as we did see on that last album, so it may be quite jarring to people at first, but I love how it's continuing that story of being reflective on Caleb's situation. And I like how in this intro we get this broken sentencing coming in. Think I might love myself. So really that questioning attitude where he's not 100% sure, he hasn't fully reached that complete positivity, he's still on this journey upwards. And I like that he's not just going from pillar to post, he's showing that it's a slope you've got to climb, and it really starts with him being able to love himself and accept himself, and it's something he's focused quite heavily on over recent interviews, and we're seeing that reflected through the intro to this track. I thought love was overrated and I don't know how to take it. Still chasing ghosts, I feel so unsure. So really showing that ability within himself to kind of understand that he was unsure about things. He sold himself a lie, gave everything that he had and more, and the feeling that it couldn't happen to him. So you can really see that self-doubt coming in, reflecting in the pre-chorus. And I love how we switch into the chorus where it's that moment where he really does realise, took my body over, lost all my composure. And I love the line, chemistry is changing, emotions rearranging, and you can really see when that smile's on his face, he's accepting, he's got this entirely different feeling within his body, and it's kind of spilling out of him. He's out of his cage, breaking his spell, and really showing that he's beginning to accept himself and love himself. So I love how the song reflects that idea very cleverly through the lyrics, and with this slight change in musical style to really show that as well, ditching some of the slightly heavier elements to really show this more positive upswing.
Still hate who I became. How long am I gonna be young and lost? Might never feel right. crash without knowing the cause. Could it happen to me? Could it happen to me? Could it happen to me? Yeah, yeah. Woo! It took my body over, lost all my composure. Never felt quite like this before. Chemistry is changing, emotions rearranging. I'm out of my cage, breaking my spell. Think I might love myself.
I love as how we move into the second verse, we see this development coming in through the track. Trade my hope for pain, still hate who I became. So although he still has that doubt, that self-hate, it's more in his past self than his present. How long am I going to be young and lost? Might never feel right, never be clear. So you can see that doubt still being there, that he's not 100% sure if he'll be able to stick at it, but he's really trying the best to do so, because nothing will change until I face my fear, done paying the price without knowing the cost. So really just kind of not constantly looking towards that worst possible outcome. And I like how in the pre-chorus as well, we get this adaptation. Could it happen to me? It was just really being shown on this pre-chorus as opposed to couldn't happen to me. So you can see these kind of moving forward, and I love that woo being brought in, that excitement really being shown in his voice, that smile. Just, it is really just eclectic to see him actually kind of putting a positive spin onto his music after you've followed his journey. If you've done it from album number 1, you've really just get kind of drawn into the story almost of his progression, of his story, his battles, and you almost feel like you're going along for the ride with him. So it's so great to kind of see somebody that you've maybe listened to for such a long time finally climbing out of that hole and reaching back into a point of positivity. And I think that makes it so much easier for long-term fans to get on board with this slight change in sound, because they may know the story and how it really fits in with the theme of the band overall.
Focused on the time, how I'm losing every minute. Gotta make a choice, gotta push it to the limit. Never felt better, never making an apology. I'm exactly who I wanna be! I'm exactly who I wanna be! Well, it took my body over, lost all my composure. Never felt quite like this before. Chemistry is changing, emotions rearranging. I'm out of my cage, breaking my spell. Think I might love myself.
I really enjoyed that. Like, I know it's going to be a little bit different for long-term fans, but I just love seeing this development. I love seeing Caleb finally reaching a point of kind of being more accepting and starting to be a bit happier. And I love how we still get that typical Beartooth bridge coming in, that drop, really bringing in some of these harder elements that they are very much known for, including some really strong breakdowns in their tracks. I'm glad they've kept that. I also like with the video how they've gone with the colour scheme of going for the pink. Really, it's just a great choice of colour. If they went for something like red, which can symbolize love or something like that, it can also symbolize anger, whereas pink is kind of more of a rosy color. It's kind of really hard to attach negative connotations, and you can also attach the ideas of like rebirth and things like that to it. So I love the choice on the coloring, really just to kind of add to this message of him beginning to love himself, which is really great to see. And I just love how strong that chorus still is. It's something that Caleb has always been very strong at, writing some of the catchiest and hookiest choruses, and even with this musical style change, he's managed to do the same just again. He really does it every single time. And now that he's focusing on the future, he's got to make this choice and push it to the limit. He's really pushing himself to make himself better than his past self, and now he's exactly who he wants to be. Now he's reaching this more positive mindset. So I love how the song really heavily reflects on this idea of his self-improvement, continues following on his journey, and the band continues to be his vessel for expressing his thoughts and feelings. Even though it is continuing to be a solo project, he does all the work in the studio. So although the band really do contribute to the musical side, they are only actually in the music videos. He writes and records all the music for every single track they do. So as a musician, it's great to see him really putting strong tracks together and also incorporating it with very strong vocals as well. And this is a song that's really just got me excited. I do love just to see this development of him, and I can't wait to see what the album entails in full when it does release later in the year. So that will be everything for today's video, but I really would love to know your thoughts about this track. How do you feel about them incorporating slightly more pop and electronic elements, because it's not something the band have really touched on before, or do you kind of accept it because of this change in mentality we are seeing from Caleb? I really would love to know your thoughts on this track. And as always, if you'd like to see more content like this, then please do feel free to subscribe, and I will see you in the next audio analysis.